All authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. Go therefore and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all things that I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age.
You recall the excitement fairly recently in the media when it was announced that 65,000 couples are being married on 7707. Now we understand, of course, the interest of young people and the common involvement and, of course, the psychology that might be involved when that number of people are considering the same kind of action. Now, 7707, friends, 3 sevens popping up on a one-armed bandit may be exciting to a gambler. But if you are depending upon the concept involved in the number 7 to make a success of marriage, then of course we need to change our thinking. No, marriage, its success, its happiness and value, not based upon luck. No, it's on a 4-letter word, all right. And it does begin with the letter L. But it is not L-U-C-K, it is L-O-V-E. And love, a friend, as we've often said, that is a power beyond man's ability fully to describe. It is a dynamic that seeks the highest good of its object without regard to cost or sacrifice or suffering. That's the basis of a happy marriage, and we know that's true of love when we read John 3, verse 16. For God so loved the world. You think for a moment of the depth of meaning in that little adverb of manner. S-O. God so loved the world, and as we've explained, that's not this material globe. No, he spoke this into existence, Psalms 33, verse 9, and he's going to burn it up one day, 2 Peter chapter 3 at verse 10. Oh, but God so loved you and me, sinners. An unworthy person such as I, God so loved that he let his pure, guiltless, innocent Son die the horrible death of crucifixion to redeem my soul. That's right. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth on him should not perish, but have everlasting life. That's love beyond my ability fully to appreciate. But then when you think about this thing of marriage, let's talk for just a few moments about the ideal wife. Now someone says, well, now what about the husband? Well, we'll bring the husband in on this, but the ideal wife, it is a remarkable condition that prevails. When God created man, for instance, Genesis 2, verse 7, and Jehovah God formed man of the dust of the earth, breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Now, God had created the earth to be inhabited, as Isaiah tells us, of course. Chapter 45, verse 18, not to be a waste, but to be inhabited. Everything essential to man's happiness and well-being was provided. The coal beds were there, the oil deposits were available, the fertility in the earth, our friend, the changing of the seasons, everything essential. And then God created man in this perfect world. And God does no shoddy work, so here is a perfect man in a perfect world. It just couldn't get any better than that. However, it can. That's my limited thinking. Do you recall that God said in verse 18 of Genesis chapter 2, it's not good that the man should be alone. That's a remarkable statement. Perfection, not good. You remember that man is made in the image and the likeness of God, Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. Yes, but you also read that God is love. 1 John chapter 4 at verse 8. Adam, being made in the image and the likeness of God, needed someone who could be the object of his affection, someone for whose welfare he could provide, someone in whose embrace he could be full and happy. That's involved in this relationship of marriage. And you know, it's an interesting thing that God created the lower forms of animal life, brought them before Adam to see what he would call them, and whatsoever the man called each one, that was the name thereof. However, the Scripture says that among all these there was not found a help meet, that is, answering to the needs of Adam. Not one. No affinity, no desire to embrace, no reaching out, no touching of the heart, no. So God caused a deep sleep to come upon Adam, and while he slept, he opened his side, took a rib therefrom, and closed up the flesh thereof, and of the rib he made that woman. Eve, she is referred to. Adam thus named her because she is the mother of all living. And he gave Eve to be the wife of Adam. Here is something that Adam needed. The object of his love. Someone for whom he could be responsible, whose happiness he could provide for. You see, that's like God. God wants us to be happy. God created us for a purpose. God is love, and love shows itself in the sacrifice essential for the good of its object. That's what marriage is all about. And the ideal wife, she understands fully the purpose of her existence. There's no question about that. She is a companion to her husband. That's primary. The first responsibility or privilege beyond our allegiance to God is the combination here of husband and wife and the love that binds the two together. This is primary. I remember that Paul made the statement in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, you recall, that the man is not of the woman. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. Yes, but he went on then to explain, for neither is the man without the woman, or the woman without the man in the Lord. In other words, this combination is essential to the continuity of the human family. This relationship is essential to the happiness of mankind generally. And it's an interesting thing that one is male and the other is female. Now, this is the combination essential to the unity that is involved in the sacred relationship of marriage. One man, one woman for life. And in the conjugal relationship that is assigned to the sacred relationship of marriage, there's unity. They become one. I remember that's what the Lord said, isn't it? In Genesis chapter 2, verse 24. Oh, yes. He said, man shall leave his father and his mother, shall cleave unto his wife. They two shall become one flesh. Ah, yes. That is what marriage is all about. Support, strength, fullness, a basic unit. You see, man by himself and in and of himself is not fulfilled. There is an emptiness, there is a great void that needs to be filled, and God, who created man, understood that, and he knows exactly what it takes to fill that void. Ah, yes, a wonderful, lovely wife. You know, I remember the wise man said in Proverbs 18, verse 22, whoso findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtaineth favor of Jehovah. Oh, there's no question about that. Whoso findeth a wife findeth a good thing. Oh, and he obtains favor from the Lord. For the Lord provided this relationship for the happiness of both man and woman, for their fulfillment. You see, she is his confidant. Yes, she is his comfort. A good wife is his strength. There's no question about that. Oh, I remember the wise man said also, Proverbs 31, "O worthy woman, who can find? Her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband trusteth in her, and he shall have no lack of gain." Now, what is involved in that statement? He's content. He's fulfilled. He has one who provides and cares for his home, in whom he has the utmost confidence, and in whose love he is satisfied and fulfilled. Every need is supplied, and he has no anxieties or no worries, so he gives himself to the tasks involved in his job, and he shall have no lack of gain. For when he returns home, that's fullness, that's completeness, that's joy. That's what a good wife does for the husband. That is the ideal wife. Now, the husband needs to be very careful. Sure, there are many problems in the workaday world, and we understand that. There are disappointments and difficulties. There are obstacles that must be overcome. There are sometimes difficulties that we have trouble dealing with. I like the illustration used by a young man who invited his boss to go home and have dinner with him. And the boss accepted the invitation, and so as they pulled up into the driveway and got out of the car, the young man walked over to a tree and looked as if he were pulling a coat off, and he hung it on the tree. And his boss was a little bit stumped, and so when he came back and they started in the house, he said, what were you doing? He said, what was the purpose of it? Oh, he said, that's my trouble tree. He said, I always hang my troubles on that tree. I never take them into the house. Yes, sir. There are difficulties and problems, but we don't make our problems in the workaday business world a problem within the framework of the home. That is not to separate husband and wife. Well, sure, she understands their difficulties and hardships, and that's what love's all about. Yes, sir. She understands that. You know, when you really stop to think about it, within the framework of the local church, our relationship to the Almighty, as citizens in the kingdom of God, there must be the scriptural organization of the church, and we understand that. There are the bishops, generally referred to as elders, in the oversight of the local church, and by their appointment, men who are deacons, the diakonos. They are servants assigned particular tasks. But you know, if you notice the qualifications of an elder, 1 Timothy chapter 3, Titus chapter 1, when you get right down to the nitty-gritty, it's the ideal wife that makes an elder. Well, preacher, are you saying that a woman can be an elder? No. The elder is to be married, of course, to a wife. We understand that. No. What I'm saying is, it is the qualities that are provided by the loving, ideal wife that equips him to exercise the oversight of the local church. The bishop, therefore, must be without reproach the husband of one wife, temperate, sober-minded, and right on down with those qualifications. It is interesting that these qualifications are developed within the framework of the home. No, not just any home. Not a home where there's bickering and arguing and negativism. No. These qualifications are formed on the foundation of love. An ideal wife is the kind of example that will mold, cultivate the character that is best suited to oversee the work of the church. It is remarkable. You know, when the Lord created Eve to be the wife of man, old Adam was blessed. There is a joy beyond our ability fully to comprehend. When marriage is founded upon love, sure, there are problems in marriage. Well, yes, there are difficulties sometimes involved with offspring. Sure, and on occasion there may be financial problems that arise. There can be conditions over which we have no control. Oh, but when this unit, joined together in love, is confronted with these problems, there's no separation. No. It doesn't disintegrate the relationship. It strengthens it. I say, together, by the help of the Lord, they can handle whatever problem may arise. And that is the strength that Adam needed. Or that is the source of energy and strength that I need in facing the issues of this life. An ideal wife, there is nothing equal to that person upon this earth. Nothing. She is industrious, but not pre-programmed. What? She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. Oh, that's from that 31st chapter of Proverbs at verse 13. The wife is a diligent worker. There's no question. She's concerned with the welfare of her home and its appropriateness and neatness, and she labors diligently to that. Hey, she's not pre-programmed. No, sir. As a matter of fact, even the dishes can go unwashed by mutual agreement. Hey, those dishes will be there when we get back. There are other things that may take precedent over the performance of daily necessary tasks. As a matter of fact, in Luke, what is that, chapter 10, verses 38 through 42, you remember Martha, who lived in Bethany, of course, with her brother, and her other sister, her sister Mary, invited the Lord and his company to her home. And when they arrive, Martha, of course, goes to work. I mean, several people here that need to be fed. So she is busy serving, doing the menial tasks that are essential to the welfare of her guests. However, Mary, her sister, is sitting at the feet of Jesus. And she's a little agitated. Hey, she said to Jesus, do you not care that my sister leaves me to serve alone? Bid her that she join me, that she help me in a... Listen to what Jesus said, Martha. Martha, thou art troubled about many things, but one thing is needful. Mary hath chosen the better part, which shall not be taken away from her. Now, baby, just a minute. Is the Lord denouncing service and diligence within the framework of the house, provision to meet the necessities of Oh, no. As a matter of fact, that's what being an ideal wife is all about. Sure, that's a part of it. The service, what is he saying? Oh, he is emphasizing the distinction between the good and the better. Oh, he is enabling me to see the difference between the better and the best. Oh, so in marriage, the ideal wife, she's concerned surely with the neatness and the welfare of the physical structure. Oh, no question. Oh, and especially with the happiness and the necessities of her family. And that's good. That's as it should be. Occasionally, there are other things more important than these menial tasks. Just a good, happy relationship with her husband may be, more important at the time. That's sad. When he comes in from work, generally she's neat and tidy, and she greets him with a hug and a kiss, and hey, that's fine. But she also may be picking beans in the garden. She may be soaking wet with perspiration. She may have just hung her hair in a bean vine, and it's hanging all over her face. That's all right. That's all right. Hug her, love her. Oh, friend, the greeting is from the heart. It's from the heart. That's true in every area of married life. The material things are important. There's no question about that. But they're important in a secondary sense. The manifestation of the genuine love that flows from heart to heart. That's the basis of a happy marriage. Too many people marry on the basis of physical appearance. Nothing wrong with physical appearance. Sure, neatness and beauty, oh, that's wonderful. It's an eye catcher and that, but a marriage won't last based on that kind of foundation. No, sir. A marriage will last when it is heart to heart, genuine love, a willingness to give, to sacrifice, to spend my life making her happy, fulfilling her needs. Oh, and she responds to that kind of love. Friend, that's a unit that provides for a joy that man simply cannot describe. God knew exactly what Adam needed. Yes, but you know, when you talk about the ideal wife, she doesn't just love her husband. Oh, yes. Love. We understand about the value of love. Seeketh not its own, is not provoked, taketh not account of evil, etc., etc. Read 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And she does that. She overlooks his shortcomings. Oh, sure, he has his faults. Oh, indeed, he makes mistakes, but she loves him. Oh, and love covers a multitude of sins. As a matter of fact, right there in verse 8 of 1 Corinthians chapter 13, Paul said, love never faileth. Now, understand that he's talking about durability here, but it's also true that in human relations, love never fails. And I know he's talking of durability here because in verse 13 he said, now abideth faith, hope, love. These three, and the greatest of these is love. On what basis? Well, it could be described variously, but very simply, faith will end in sight. Hope will end in realization. But love, friend, that continues eternally. So love never faileth. Oh, but that can be used also in the sense that it never fails in working out the best interest of two people who deeply love one another. So an ideal wife not only loves her husband, but she likes him. Oh, now, well, somebody says, now, preacher, you're making a distinction. That's a very real distinction. Yes, sir. We can love someone and not particularly, like them. But an ideal wife loves her husband, and she likes him. You know, it's a wonderful thing about marriage, isn't it? There are the latter moments. How does a couple remain newlyweds for 60 years? Oh, it's because they like one another. Do you recall in Genesis chapter 26? Old Isaac, there's a famine in Israel, and he goes down to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, and makes some kind of an agreement, and he's going to live among the Philistines during this period of time. But he's afraid of these heathen. He thinks, man, they may kill me for Rebekah, my wife. Rebekah was a beautiful lady. And they may think, so he said, she's my sister. He lied about it. Shouldn't have done that. But, however, right here in Genesis 26, all verses 6 through 8, Abimelech looks out through his window, and he sees Isaac sporting with Rebekah. Anyway, he sees Isaac sporting with Rebekah. Friend, he knew immediately, hey, that's not his sister. No, sir. Well, how could he know that? There's just a relationship between husband and wife that exists in no other relationship upon this earth. I don't know. Maybe he was hugging her and kissing her on the neck, and that makes chill bumps all over her, and she's fussing about it. But she loves it. That's marriage. She loves him, and she likes his lighter moments. That's the way you stay newlyweds through the years. That's what makes marriage click. That is a wonderful relationship. Sometimes when you have a catastrophe, she might break a limb or something, and it's a sad situation, no question about that. There's some pain, and then they put a cast on that arm, and you tease her. Say, now I'll have my way because, hey, boy, you watch out. She can use that cast like a caveman uses a club. Yes, sir. But that's marriage. Now, those are the lighter moments. She not only loves her husband, but she likes him, and they have a happy relationship. It's a wonderful thing. And can't help but think, in light of some recent circumstances, if you suddenly became an enemy of the one who loves you more than his own life, you could use those incidents to make him look like a brute. You say, You knew at the time it was because of love. It was because he liked you. It was because you enjoyed one another. But you take it out of the context of the sacredness of marriage, and you begin to use it again. Well, you could make him look like a brute. There's no question about that. No, marriage is based upon genuine love. Yes, the ideal wife devotes herself, her strength, her energy to her husband. Wives, be in subjection to your own husbands as is fitting in the Lord. Ephesians 5:22, Colossians 3:16, 18 makes the same statement exactly. Oh, the reason for that, husbands, love your wives as Christ also loved the church and gave himself up for it. That's Ephesians 5 at verse 25. That's a love that would sacrifice its life. The ideal wife.
You are viewing Preaching the Gospel, a nationwide program brought to you by the Churches of Christ. They would love for you to come and visit their services. Why not come this next Lord's Day? Call us if you need assistance in locating a Church of Christ in your area. Maybe you would like to have your own copy of today's lesson on audio cassette or CD. We offer these free of charge. Write down the number of today's program and contact us by calling 1-800-683-3120 or email us at ptgwjw@aol.com. Our mailing address is P.O. Box 1484, Dalton, Georgia 30721. Often we get requests from those of you who want to learn more and study further about the Bible. We have available to you free of charge a new Bible study series. The first of this 6-lesson series will be mailed to your house at your request. This Bible study is also offered free of charge. Preaching the Gospel is under the oversight of the elders at the Highland Church of Christ in Dalton, Georgia. It is fully funded by the members of the Churches of Christ. And now, back to James.
The ideal wife. I remember that Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, beginning at verse 2, "But because of fornications, let each man have his own wife, let each woman have her own husband. Let the wife render unto the husband his due, in like manner the husband unto the wife. For the wife hath not power over her own body, but the husband. In like manner the husband hath not power over his own body, but the wife. Defraud you not one the other, except it be by consent for a season, that you may give yourselves unto prayer, and be together again, that Satan tempt you not through your incontinence." How wonderful indeed. Yes, the ideal wife loves her husband. Oh, but in addition to loving her husband, she likes him. And the relationship that they sustain, sure, has its lighter moments, and they enjoy one another. They giggle, they wrestle. That's fine. That's a part of marriage. That is the basis of the happiness of man and woman and the sacred relationship of marriage.